The KPIs are more important on the paid side than the organic side, at least in my opinion. Because once more, the free stuff, it doesn't cost me anything. The organic stuff, I make videos. Some months I'll get more than others. There'll be virality, there won't be virality. But paid, day in and day out, dollar for dollar, pound for pound, I want to watch that much closely because it's way easier to begin losing money on paid than it is to be losing money on organic, because once more, it doesn't cost you anything. So let's talk about tolerance and KPIs. Assuming you're in a sophisticated or unsophisticated market, these are the types of KPIs that you should look towards or expect. Now, with my paid ads funnel in a B2C market, I want to try to bring my cost per call to between $80 to $100, even at max $150. I like to keep it at 100 because you're going to get some variability in your algorithm's performance anyways, which might bring you to 150. But if you can be at 100 consistently and you get a little bump from one time and you get a little spike because it's seasonal, you can still be profitable. So I want to bring my cost between $80 to $100. If my cost per call is less than that, it's actually a red flag. It's not a sign of things going well. It's actually a sign that I need to tighten up and add friction to my funnel. The reason why is because there's a couple limiting beliefs that are very common out there, and I believe these, and I'm learning them in real time as I share them with you. The first one is that you should take any and all calls. So I'm going to call these limiting beliefs. And that is that all calls are good calls. And this is actually not true at all. This is the mindset that you must have when you're going from 0 to 1. When you're trying to get validation for your offer, your idea, you want to take meetings with anybody that you can. But once you have some traction, meaning maybe you're at that 30 to 50K a month mark, that's when you want to start realizing that not all calls are good calls. You want to begin to add friction and arbitrarily, artificially increase your call on purpose for the sake of making more money. Here's why. If you're getting calls for too cheap, we're talking $10 to $20. You probably don't have enough friction. You're probably getting a lot of people who are broke. You're probably getting a lot of people who are low quality because you're not doing anything to see and qualify that person for your business. But if you're at the cost, you're not doing anything to see or qualify that person for your business. A matter of fact, you're actually holding back your own growth. Let me explain the math to you on this. So let's say it cost me $10 per call. It's going to cost me $1,000 to get 100 calls in the calendar. 100 calls is more or less what one full-time closer should take in the course of a month. But here's the thing. If we're getting $10 calls and we're getting 100 of them, let's say 40 of them aren't qualified at all, meaning they shouldn't even be on the calendar, they're low intent. So that cuts this number from 100 down to 60. Of that, let's say maybe 50% of them have the money. That's going to bring us down to 30 calls. 30 calls that are worth a darn and worth speaking to. But we don't know that because we took everybody, we let everybody onto the calendar, we took that space away from somebody else. Now, those 30 calls, let's assume a 60% show rate. So at best, only 60% show, which means that we're going to have 18 people that actually attend. Like, let's assume we're doing great at a 25% close rate. Well, that's going to walk us out with 4.5 clients in a month. Assuming we're at a $3,000 price point means that we come out with $13,500. Let's assume we get 50% of that up front. That's going to be $6,750 that we made. That's not bad. To turn $1,000 into $6,750 is going to be a 6.75x ROAS. And that's really good. And that's also not super unrealistic if you're getting a $10 cost per call. But now let's redo the math. Let's assume we crank the cost of the call all the way up to 80, where we now have to spend $8,000 to fill the calendar. So if we're at $80 per call, we spend $8,000 to fill the calendar with 100 calls. Let's assume that 10% of them are waste because we did a better job. Well, that's going to bring us 90 calls here. Let's assume that maybe only 10% of them are unqualified financially and in terms of actual qualification, because once more, we added friction to the form. So that brings us 90 calls. Let's assume that we get a 75% show rate because we actually qualified a lot harder, meaning these people are better, more bought into the process. It's going to give us 67.5. Let's call that 68 people that show. Let's say we close at 25%. That's going to bring us a whopping 17 clients in a month. Let's assume we get a $3,000 price point. That's going to be $51,000 in cash. Let's assume we get a slightly higher cash collection rate because once more, we actually financially qualified people. So let's assume that we get 80% of that up front. That's going to bring us to $40,800. Now, take away the $8,000 that we spent to get there, and that brings us to $32,800 in cash. $40,800 divided by the $8,000 we spent to get there gets us to a 5.1x ROAS. Now, 5.1, sure, is that less than our 6.5? Yes, but we made more than 3 times the money by arbitrarily increasing the cost of our call. And the best part is we can actually increase this further and get better and higher stats out of our funnel. And the best part is that we can actually increase that higher and get better increased performance out of our funnel and make more money. While it might lower our ad spend, it makes us substantially more money. That's how you want to think. It just takes some simple math and modeling it out. And while this is the simplest thing, it is the most overlooked thing that everybody does in their business. Now, this is on the B2C side to consumers and unsophisticated markets. Let's talk about the B2B side. Reasonably, you want to have an upper tolerance of $400 for a fully qualified call. So if your calls are coming in at around 100 to 150, go ahead and add friction to bring your call cost to maybe around 250 to 300. And worst case, you might see yourself swing all the way up to 400. But assuming you do the same thing, but for your B2B business, that's how it should math out.